Welcome to Everything You Want to Know About Sex, but you were afraid to ask. Here we have Artie, and we got Jess from Noble Knight, and we just got on, and they were talking about Putin and all that. I couldn't stop them.
He's agitated.
You know, Artie, take it easy. Take it easy. Hey, Artie, are you going to play that clip of you finding the thing?
I can't. It's on my, but I have the thing.
Can you send it to me? Because I'm going to play it.
You could pull up my video for it. I could send you that.
How am I going to pull up your video?
It's on YouTube.
I got carpal tunnel syndrome. I can't move a lot.
You could click the button. You could click the buttons. Just push the buttons.
Well, we got a team on. We got it. Fucko's there. Did Fucko do what? Did he come to the convention?
Yeah, he was there for an afternoon though.
We got Grumbling Grognard. And by the way, Jess from Noble Knight, you got a hell of a lot of war games all of a sudden, didn't you?
Well, I mean, like always, but yeah, I honestly, I was just telling you my sad sob story recently, so I didn't pay as much attention to the latest releases in the last 2 weeks as I should have. But I did notice that we added a whole bunch of new pre-orders, so I'm guessing that we also got a big wave of new release games, because that tends to be.
Yeah, I must have clicked on everything because I got like Noble Knight. Now you got your thing. Now you got your, and that's when I used to have money. Now I have no money.
So I noticed that there was a new war game want list, which basically was my entire 3W collection, which is not a very big collection, but like everything that I own from 3W was on that want list.
You're gonna sell it?
No.
Then it wouldn't be a collection anyway.
Right. Well, I mean, I'm you know, I'm kind of torn, right? This is a struggle, which is real, right? That we have, because you don't want to sell stuff because I'll just go buy it again, right? You know how many times that's happened is I go and friggin' buy it again. And I don't want to do that again. So I don't have that much 3W stuff. I've got about 4 or 5 things. I'm comfortable. The petition has, I'm happy to report, has insufficient signatures.
Well, I didn't know because I was going to sign in.
Also, a suitcase of money will be required to convince me to do such an asinine thing. But I got to tell you, Dan, if I'm forced to do it, I got to come to you for help. So,
and now keep me out of this, man.
I want nothing to do with this nonsense.
Man. Hey, Jess, give us the news. Give us some news. Come on, tell us.
Well, we're right now I'm ramping up to be at GaryCon here in Wisconsin, the big D&D convention that's coming up pretty soon. Of course, that's also the same weekend as Adepticon, so I can't be at both places at once. But we're also going to have someone going out to Adepticon. So if you guys are going to be at Adepticon or anyone in the audience, one of our representatives will be there. We're sponsoring Historic KC Fest, which is a wargaming convention down in Kentucky. Then at the same time, there's GAMA, which is the Game Manufacturers Association. We're going to have people there as well. We're actually
at the GAMA. We're not allowed. It's only people from the industry. Is that right?
You are people from the industry.
I keep forgetting.
Is that still in Vegas?
Yes, yeah, down in Vegas. So I won't be there, but our primary purchaser will be there. Some other people will be there. So if anyone's down there, say hi to us. We don't have a booth, but Phil will be walking around. Loves to talk war games, all games really. And we're actually up for, and I'm really hoping if you guys could all cross fingers for us, we're actually up for the GAMA Retailer of the Year award this year. This is the first time we've been in for that, and I'm really hoping that we're going to win an award that I filled out the application for, so I'm hopeful.
How can we skew the votes here?
I imagine you could drop a little note at the GAMA Facebook page or anything. That there was previously a thing where you could go in and customers actually nominate the stores. So I can already say thank you to all the wonderful people out there who did nominate us, because that's the only way it happens. So thank you. Thank you one and all. Anyone who put in for that. It's a huge honor even to be nominated. So thank you.
On the chat, we have someone who has actually a lot of petitioning and how do you say when you want to convincing power? It's Brant. Brant, do something, man.
A very powerful Brant.
Brant, do it.
Brant, thank you for your gifts.
You know, I mean, come on. I would never have known of Jim Ozarski if it wasn't for Brant. And my life has changed. Now I know nothing.
So we're going to talk about mounted maps, but since Jess is here and I didn't expect this, and I happen to have it handy, I'm going to show off the thing I just got from Noble Knight a little while ago, which is the 1982 TSR Dungeon Hobby Shop catalog. Now, I had this catalog, I had to do a video on it yet, but I had this catalog as a kid. So just flipping through this totally unillustrated spreadsheet looking thing is like a huge wave of nostalgia. And it didn't cost me $1 million either, but it's kind of cool to look through. So you never know what you're going to find. And they got pages and pages and pages of order sheets. So you could tear one out and send it in, and tear another one out and send it in.
Oh, tear it out. Oh, no.
So, and they had this catalog. They worked out of this catalog for about 2 years, near as I could tell.
Isn't it crazy looking at the prices when you find those old catalog materials?
Oh God, yeah.
You're like, hey, would you like to have the entire collection of modules for like 25 cents?
No, but that's another conversation for another time, because didn't the prices jump a hell of a lot and not incrementally go up when it came to board games, or no? Am I wrong?
I mean, if you look at what RPGs cost or what war games cost, and you look at the inflation, it's not radically out of line from what you would expect.
Okay.
In some cases, yes, there are some that had huge jumps. And for example, whenever a game designer passes away, there tends to be an immediate jump in price. And then because there's a lot more interest, there's more demand, everyone's realizing, oh no, like when Gary Gygax passed, of course, everything that he authored had an immediate boost of interest that everyone was really looking for.
Except the stuff I've got.
No, it's all good. By the way, I'm seeing that Frazetta miniature in the back of your...
There was, that was actually sent to me by a viewer. That is the Death Dealer statuette. It is.
Is that the one from... is that the one from... is it Tego Collectibles or Tego's the
Bradford,
Kabuki models?
Maybe? The Bradford Exchange.
Oh, not them. Okay.
Where the really fancy ones come from.
Oh, hold on, Mike.
Nice.
Mike, do you use the 10% code? Mike, you have to answer.
Yeah. Use the code. What is the code, Dan?
What's the code, Jess?
The code currently is...
I think it's NEH show. I think it's no enemies. NEH show. Yeah.
I'm going to confirm that in just a second here when I pull up my spreadsheet.
Yeah, it's NEH show. There we go. Thanks, Mike.
You'd think I would remember them all, but I don't.
Yeah, I mean, seriously. Anyway, Jess, sorry I cut you off. Go ahead.
What was I saying? I don't even know. Prices, yes, some of them jump, some of them go incrementally. Occasionally, when I'm looking at our Prada's Pet, I was looking just this morning at someone was asking me about which edition of White Dwarf magazine had the first Fiend Factory. So we were chasing that down to see when that started. And I was looking at the very first edition of White Dwarf magazine, and I could see the product pass was, steady increase for years, and then suddenly it just jumped. So I don't know necessarily what happened at those moments, but I definitely see huge fluctuations in prices from time to time. But I think you're right. In the majority, it's inflation with a factor of time, and it just kind of, they grow together. But
yeah, no, because I was out of the hobby for a while, and I got back into it 10 years ago, and I was like, bloody hell,
And of course, if you're talking about stuff that's been out of print, then you're looking at it's not just inflation anymore, right? It becomes collectability.
Mm-hmm.
So. I remember when Ambush came out, and I used to go to our local thingy, and I didn't like the box covers, so I didn't buy them.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Yes, it is.
Thank God for Carl. So I'm just looking at this. Now, this is, again, this is 1982, and this may or may not be actual MSRP on this, but copy of Panzer Blitz for $16, for example.
Jess,
Maneuver Warrior, doubtless one of Brandt's products. Some of which are very go for big dollars on the collectible market from Bayonet Games.
So what? Brandt makes big bucks?
No, he sold all his for pennies, I'm sure. But some of the stuff that he published as Bayonet Games actually is quite collectible.
Wow. And we are actually sold out of that one. We have not had a copy of at least this edition that I'm looking at of Maneuver Warrior since 2014.
Wow.
Hold on. That doesn't seem right. I wonder if we have different editions.
And what's Maneuver Warrior? Who's the designer?
Probably Brant.
Brant.
Yeah.
I'm guessing so. Yeah. Let's see here.
That's why he's Bayonet Brant, because he used to be Bayonet Games.
I didn't know that.
That's like there's like math equations floating over Dan's head right now.
I probably shouldn't say your last name out loud without asking, but yep, I can see it right here on the box. Designed by Brant.
Brant, you should have. Oh, how many times did we ask Brant to come on, and he just shunned us?
He's a very busy person, actually. So trust me.
What does he do?
I don't know what he works in IT, but he's also like a youth soccer coach. So he's constantly at youth soccer events. So he's always like tuning into my show from the youth soccer league thing.
Christ, everybody works for IT in this wargaming world.
Stuffing a hot dog in his face. Yeah, that's because we're the only people who can afford to buy these games anymore.
Let's see. We had. Oh no, that's from Warfighter. Sorry, I was looking at. I'm still looking at this product line to look at all the rest of the.
Will, how are you, Will?
MSRP $220.
Are you kidding me?
Nope. MSRP $260. So
that's still available.
Well, yeah, all that stuff's still available actually.
And it's $260.
Yes, it's got 16. I mean, it's got 16 counter sheets and 7 maps. I mean, you get a lot, but it's
Atlantic Warrior is kind of Atlantic Wall. It's pretty hefty one.
Yeah.
I take offense to that, Brent. I take offense to that. You can ask Gary how many times I spoke and said, let's get Bayonet Brent.
Yeah, but we didn't ask him.
We forgot.
Hey, would it be okay if I were to ask your followers a question about some stuff?
Go ahead.
Great. So I've been recently doing a lot of digging into wargame magazines and publications, which I know is a thing that you guys talk about with some regularity. So obviously I'm aware of a lot of them. What do you guys feel like currently, US side or internationally? Because we're even looking at some of the ones from the UK. What are your favorite war games magazines? What war game magazines do you get subscriptions to, or do you just pick them up from time to time? When you see war game magazines that include a game, do you default to getting those and skip the ones that don't have games in the edition? Because a lot of them will have, 2 out of 3 of them will include an actual game that, without a real mounted board, but a board. And others will just be, topics of interest and historical conflict and reviews of games, but not include a game. So I'm kind of curious whether you, as readers, kind of shun the ones with games or without games, or have strong preferences as far as the most popular war game magazines go.
I feel like we've had a conversation about this in the past, and I kind of feel like, by all means, viewers chip in on this, but I feel like there's been a slant in recent, say, 2 decades towards wargaming magazines that have games in them. There's only one professional wargame magazine produced in print right now that I could think of off the top of my head that doesn't have a game in every or almost every issue. That's War Diary magazine. So a lot of the wargame magazines that didn't have games in them, like Fire and Movement and Moves and Line of Communication or Line of Control or whatever that was called, or Zones of Control, whatever John Kisner's magazine was called, a lot of those are not available anymore. So almost all the magazines I buy that relate to wargaming do end up having games in them. The Courier, that was another one, actually. That's a good call. And there was the Wargamer, which is gone, but which did have games in the magazine.
Mm-hmm. And I think War Games Illustrated doesn't have games.
And I believe it to be mostly a miniatures magazine. And so, it has miniatures on the cover, so I don't touch it lest I get so
those filthy miniatures.
Yes, those dirty miniatures fetishists is what we're calling them now.
Actually, what do you subscribe to? Which magazine you subscribe to?
I'm not subscribed to any wargame magazines.
There's
only
Jess pulling a geek.
Yeah, sorry, like, I just have my shelf of painted miniatures over here.
Yeah, well, that's fine. There's nothing wrong. I just don't have time for them. That's the problem. And if I buy a magazine, I'll like occasionally watch a YouTube video that has miniatures, and I'll be like, ooh, can start painting miniatures again. No, don't do that. No. I don't have time for that.
Yeah,
So,
it is time consuming, and man, I hope, man, after I was just telling you guys about my recent move stuff, they just chucked all my painted miniatures into a box together.
ooh.
I
So
don't
when
have-
I was a kid, my mom used to come up to clean the room with the bucket of soapy water, and she would dunk the miniatures in the soapy water, and all the paint would flake off.
No.
There he is.
That's
There
why
he
you
is.
need finishing spray. Hey,
There's Brant.
There you
See-
are,
see
Brant.
what happens?
And see, we didn't even ask you this time, and you're on.
Through the magic of technology.
And it's true. I guess we didn't ask him. All we did is talk about having him.
Yeah, all you guys do is talk about me behind my back.
It reminds me of the time my mother had a birthday party for my cousin, right? So she invites everybody, and she didn't invite him. And it was like, what the hell?
Oops.
Anyways, Brant, what do you want? What do you want?
Y'all were talking about me. I just thought I'd show up and join in the chorus of making fun of Brant. So that's cool.
So-
Jesus, man.
So
How's
war
it-
game magazines, are there any out that we're not thinking of that we haven't mentioned so far?
I only caught about half the ones you were mentioning because I was shuffling out to my office to plug into the computer to jump in here. I will tell you, the one that I missed that was an awesome one was Battles magazine. I really wish Olivier and the guys would get around to bringing that back.
That's not technically dead, right?
It's only mostly dead.
Right. I mean,
They
I'm not
haven't
dead yet.
they haven't officially declared it dead, but it's been a year and a half since they published anything. So the key thing that made Battles so much better than any of the others that have come before it, and most of the other contemporary ones, was Olivier's eye for the graphics, and not just graphic design and layout work. It's not like some college undergrad, just learned how to work page layout software and went crazy with all the cool tricks. It's also that he did a really good job of framing and angling all the photographs. So it wasn't just top down, almost a computer graphic view of like a map encounters. Like, he gave you some angles and actually made board games look like they were in motion, which was
Like
fantastic.
Olivier, he's the Frenchman. Olivier's the Frenchman, right?
Yeah, he's the French guy that did a whole lot of war game artwork for a lot of folks. Brilliant graphic designer, brilliant visual designer, visual composer. And it was one of those magazines. It was almost, forgive the crude term, it was war game porn. It was just a gorgeous magazine to look at and to flip through and to see how vibrant he was able to make war games look in pages of that magazine.
What was the issue with him putting it out timely? Like, yeah.
So depending on who you ask, there's about 8 different stories. The one I like best was the one that he was in jail for smuggling cigarettes. I'm pretty sure that's not true, but it's funny.
It could be true. Big if true.
Maybe, but it's funny, even if it's not the truest one.
Well, he's in France.
Yeah.
They got cigarettes galore. You don't have to smuggle cigarettes.
They did lose most of one print run and had to reprint a bunch of stuff when they had a roof leak at the warehouse or something like that. So some of the games were a little uneven. Some of them were really good. Some of them have been re-released by other people. But the writing was always pretty good. But just, again, the visual design of that magazine was fantastic. It was one that you just wanted to show other people because it looked so good.
Did it come with a game, that one? Yeah, it did. Eh?
Yeah, every one of them had a game. Some of them had 2. So,
and was it like hexism quality type game?
Depending on some of the designers were better than others. Some of them, Olivier was clearly giving somebody a shot at designing a game that, it was a rookie, and, like all rookie designers had some underdeveloped ideas, but you could see a good idea underneath it all.
I mean, Butterfield was a rookie once. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, everybody was. Yeah. So the of the current ones, I'm not sure all the current ones you listed off. Yao Magazine's got a game in every one of them. Paper Wars has a magazine.
They're still putting those out as
they're still putting. What do you think of that magazine, Brent?
Which one?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've seen like 2 of them, so the 2 I saw seemed to be okay. I'm not a big magazine game guy, only because the games are a little uneven, just because of the nature of the production cycle. So
some magazines have more uneven games than others, though. Against the Odds is pretty consistently good. C3I has been pretty consistently good with the magazine games. S&T has never been. It's always been a bit dodgy.
The best of the S&T games were always ones that relied on an existing system that had already had its shakeout crews, right? That most of the system was pretty well refined elsewhere. And it's essentially a new scenario. It's almost like taking the quad game systems and just adding more games to an existing set of rules.
I would agree with that statement. So if you look at like Victory in the West, which came out of, there were 3 Victory in the West that were in S&T, but the system originates in Operation Typhoon, which was a big box game. If you look at Great Battles of the American Civil War, which had magazine games but originates in Terrible Swift Sword, those are probably among the better remembered, better regarded S&T games. There are some exceptions to that, though, like Frederick the Great, for example, which I think is still held in pretty high regard. People keep telling me how great October War is. I don't know if that relied on a previous design or not.
Yeah, the Fifth Corps series, the first one, the rules needed some refinement, but once the Fifth Corps series got cranking, that one was pretty solid. We talked about on the podcast the other day, the old Modern Battles series that SPI had in the quads first. Berlin 85 was sort of the spiritual cousin of those, but then also once Decision Games took it over, they had the Cold War Battles magazines with Budapest and the Pentomic Würzburg and Afghanistan and Angola games. All 4 of those.
So of the currently publishing active war game magazines, is there one that you would feel has standout, hands down, the best game content, or one that has the hands down best written content for non-specific games?
I feel like the best value in game magazines is probably C3I right now.
Yeah, but what about content? What about content?
Well, I'm talking about the content too. It's almost actually never I end up buying every C3I, and it's almost actually never the game that gets me to buy it. I buy it for the content, all the various add-ons for various games. There's a Dean Essig article. I don't know if it was in the last one or the one before. There was a big Richard Berg article when Richard Berg passed away. So it is actually, in my case, it's nice to get a game with it, but it's almost always the stuff in the magazine rather than the game that gets me to buy it.
Yeah.
And by the way, I have been reading all the chat. Everyone who's been weighing in, thank you. I'm taking notes.
And just,
multiple pages of notes.
Just I wanted to warn you about this guy, Stigler. If he ever orders, do not accept the code. Do not
send him. If he ever orders, take the code. Just send him a bunch of Decision Games products. At whatever you got, just randomly pull whatever Decision trash off the shelf, send it to him.
He's mean. He's mean.
He will absolutely. When you hear about a volcano erupting in Portland, Oregon, that'll be him.
I'm sure you're a wonderful person.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We love him dearly.
Yeah.
To answer Jess's question, I think Gary's right in that the best frequent combination of good game plus good content tends to be C3I. I think frequently the games in Against the Odds magazines tend to be pretty good games, but the written content isn't always as good as C3I. The flip side of that, we like to pick on Decision Games and S&T stuff. Generally, the articles in their magazines are pretty solid articles.
Well, they're very.
Oh yeah, the magazine's pretty. I mean, S&T at least is a very strong magazine.
Yeah,
even Modern War is a very strong. The magazine content has generally been very strong.
Modern War was.
Well, yes, that's true. And I only say that because I do have several issues of Modern War. I have more issues of Modern War than I do World at War for some reason.
But hey, Brent, going back to Decision Games articles, it's not for newbies, man.
Oh no. I mean, it is not one of those zero depth entry kind of pools that you sort of wade your way into the content. That is a cannonball off the diving board into the deep end.
Yeah.
You said Against the Odds is the one that you were saying is
No,
cannonball into the deep.
The S&T article, Strategy
Oh, okay, gotcha. Sorry.
World at War.
Yeah. Oh, they're super groggy articles though. They've
Yeah.
got a lot of like nuts and bolts about, okay, so here's a giant spreadsheet looking extract of all the different artillery pieces that were available at the battles with all their technical specs.
I thought wargamers love that. Big
Oh, we
chunks
do.
of just-
There's different levels of war gamers. You got Brant down here, who's like, he's Mr. Military. Then you got Mr. Knowledge, Artie, and then you got me. I know nothing. I'm the idiot here.
So
Someone say
I don't know
something
about
to help
that.
me out. Jesus.
Yeah, I doubt it. Yeah, you're
not
teaching
just
me
the idiot here.
I'll be honest, I've got about 5 issues, I think, of Against the Odds, and I really have not much looked at the magazines. I've really only looked at the games, because in that case, it was the games that got me to buy the magazine.
Yeah, usually. And what Against the Odds will tend to have is they'll have an article or two around the topic that's the game.
Mm-hmm.
And those are usually pretty good. The rest of them are kind of, oh, we got pages to fill.
hit that word count.
Now,
Yeah.
Paper Wars has historically been a review magazine, but it seems to me that, and I don't have that many issues of Paper Wars, but it seems to me, and of course that's got a game in every issue now as well, that recently they've started to drift more into like general wargaming content rather than just reviews as such.
Yeah. So I have exactly 1 issue of Paper Wars. Although that said, I did go ahead and get a subscription to the next 4 that are coming up. I think it's 101, 2, 3, and 4, just because 3 of the 4 were topics I was actually interested in. So I decided to take the plunge and give it a try. I have exactly 1 issue of Paper Wars. Other than that, I've got about 5 copies of it, and it was number 66. And that's because it was my game as the cover story.
How many copies you got?
5 or 6. I've got a handful. They sent them to me, right? That was back when Omega was still publishing it, and so Bill sent them to me.
Jesus, Bill sends you stuff.
Well, he doesn't send anybody stuff anymore. No, not Bill Thomas. Bill from Omega.
Oh, sorry. Excuse me.
Yes, the sadly departed Bill from Omega.
I didn't know that. Oh, so I mean, the Omega site's still up, man.
Yes, it is. They still sell copies of stuff, but Bill passed away a couple of years ago.
So what's going to happen? Their inventory is going to go down, and that's it.
I have no idea.
You know, there's
probably chime in the
weird
chat and tell
cases where companies from years ago are still around, still have a website, and you can still go buy their stuff. Fantasy Games Unlimited still has a website. You could go buy Fantasy Games Unlimited stuff. Different Worlds, just run by the same guy, still has a website. You could go buy a bunch of Different World stuff for like the old prices too. It's like $3 or $4 a product. I was like, wow, I gotta have all this. They had Traveler stuff. I ordered everything.
Yeah. So, John, Omega was the company that published the old Ranger game. That was the main one they did.
Yeah.
They did a couple of other things, but Omega was known for Ranger, which was a very narrative-driven game, and it was based on Bill's time in the military and some of the hip pocket training he would do with the soldiers in the field, and he just built it out into a larger game system and then spent a lot of years refining it. It's still a pretty well-loved game system, but nothing's happened to it since Bill passed away.
It's gotten a decent amount of attention in the last couple of years for an out-of-print product by an out-of-existence publisher.
Yeah.
Was not a big I think the only thing I've ever had from them was Carrier War, which passed through my hands very briefly, and I got rid of it without looking at it particularly serious. Mike Anthony points out that they did Eastern Front Solitaire, which I do remember that as well. Yeah.
No, Mike's right. They've done a bunch of stuff over the years, and Dan knows nothing.
Yeah.
But Omega was sort of famous for Ranger, so I feel bad. Like I asked the show and Jess hasn't said like the 3 words.
I was just about to ask her about Omega games. What's in your catalog in Omega games, Jess?
Sorry, you had me so distracted with the hatware. I was
the show thing. Nobody said anything.
Hilariously, if you Google Omega Games, the first link that comes up is Noble Knight's page rather than Omega Games page.
Yeah, but they're probably going to charge you an arm and a leg. Those people at Noble Knights, I swear to God.
So,
See what
Brent,
we
were
got
they the
here.
original publishers of Paper Wars? Is that what we're saying?
I don't know. I don't know if somebody had it before them.
Okay.
I know that in 05, when Bayonet Games made their war game debut, they contacted me about doing a review of Movement to Contact, and so I'd sent them a copy. They did a nice review of it, and it ended up as the cover story. I think I sold maybe an extra 3 copies of the game as a result of that.
You know, if someone had asked me about
the Omega thing, sorry.
Yeah, no, sorry. If you'd asked me a while ago about Omega, I would have said that we don't have a lot of it. And I am happy to say I am very wrong. I just we have a ton of Paper Wars. Tons of it. Wow.
Here's the Paper Wars issue featuring Flight of the Eagle that I probably need to buy now.
I thought Paper Wars was Compass.
Well, it is now because Omega.
Yes, but yeah, the original. Yeah. Yeah, it looks like we've got about 133 products from Omega Games, and most of it looks to be Paper Wars. Let me see what do we have that's not Paper Wars.
Brad, you play any Omega games? That Ranger game, you ever play it?
I played Ranger once, long time ago, back in the 90s. It was a decent enough game. The narrative driven games to me, like Ranger, I would just rather go play a role playing game.
Like what?
Behind Enemy Lines.
Yeah. Behind Enemy Lines or Recon.
Recon would be another one. Yeah. One of the relatively few military, like historical military RPGs. There's not very many.
And can you die? Like if you could die?
Sure. And then you make a new character and start over.
And what about this Twilight 2000, man?
Well, that's a hypothetical situation, though. I don't consider, and Brand and I have been back and forth on this many times. I don't consider those. I mean, they're not historical games, right?
No,
they're
contrafactual. A hypothetical near future potential world.
I mean, it's like a science fantasy thing, like Narnia.
When T2K was written, it was still a hypothetical potential.
It was.
Future.
Yeah, it's getting a little.
It's getting a little
T2K as it is today.
That's
is
true.
The future that never was.
Jesus, don't get me started.
Yeah.
Noble Knight does have Carrier War.
I was just looking at that. Yeah, it's on my screen.
And that is actually a fairly interesting looking game.
And I've come across it before because I Google my own name sometimes, and so I Googled Noble Knight Games Jessica Carrier, and I came up with Carrier Wars. I was like, oh, okay.
Oh, well, that works.
Okay.
Thank you, Google.
Yeah.
Google.
Yeah. So
we have a couple.
Here.
Doug's saying Fantasy Games Unlimited more ethically questionable than Decision. I would agree with Doug on that. They did a lot of shady stuff, like continuing to sell product out of the garage because their contract said as long as they had it available, the rights didn't revert to the original designer. And some of the original designers, like Jeff D, for example, who, if you're an old TSR D&D person, you might recognize a lot of Jeff D's artwork from the original DDs and Demigods. He had to have a lawsuit to get the rights to Villains and Vigilantes back. So I'm in agreement with Doug on this. Whoever, I don't know what the chain of custody on FGU is, if it's the same person or if it's somebody else that came in and bought it or whatever. But I'm not really happy with them particularly, even though they did some good stuff.
FGU is barely one step above the Justin Lanassa TSR version 3 point whatever they're on.
Well, they have product. Unlike those.
Yeah, they do actually, in fact, have a product, so that is a good thing. But in terms of kind of the cheese, the sleaze factor there, I would agree with Doug largely on this.
Jess, Stigler's hitting you here.
Yeah, I want an answer to this too. Actually, I'm curious to get an insight as to what the process is and how often the updates happen and all that stuff.
That is a very big question that sometimes I have to kick hornets' nests around here about as well. So the short answer is that, so when, let's say that someone brings in a copy of Carrier Wars, the pricing that we're going to base, so we start with, for example, what did we last sell it at? What was our last listed price? Then we might cross list with eBay. What have been the selling prices on eBay? then we take into account the condition. Then we might look into, you know, have there not been any copies available anywhere on the internet, anywhere for the last 10 years? Occasionally, because of the rarity of something like that, we don't even know necessarily, is this something that is going to be you know, underpriced if we put it at $1,000, or is it going to be well overpriced if we put it at $1,000? Someone might buy it the instant it shows up, and apparently $1,000 was a very reasonable ask. And other times we put it up for $1,000, and someone will write and be like, "That's ridiculous." And we say, "Thank you for letting us know. I will look into that and see if we can make sure that that's." Occasionally, it's just someone going, "That's a ridiculous price," and it's actually not, unfortunately, a ridiculous price. So, you know, all of our research indicates that this is actually a pretty reasonable ask. Other times, let's say 10 years ago, a game was completely out of print. Nobody had had copies for years. We put it up at the kind of a more premium collector's price because nobody can find it. Everybody wants it. And then 5 years later, hey, it's back in print. And now it has a different UPC code. And we didn't notice that it's got a new edition, and nobody wants to pay $300 for the old out of print one, because why, when I can buy it on Amazon brand new and shrink for $30? What are you doing? Who is this? You guys are cheating us. I'm like, sorry, we didn't realize, and it's not coming through like an auto check system that says, hey, now this game is back in print, and it is the exact same thing as what used to be out of print that you were charging the premium out of print price for, and now it's back. Sometimes we just have to be shown. Because our system is a system that is, it's more of a database than it is a live functioning, you know, it doesn't crawl the internet for us, figuring out when things have gone in and back out of print. And
no, the Oompa Loompas do that for you.
yeah, we do it manually too. So occasionally it really does come down to someone going, did you guys not know that this is back in print again, and that you're now charging more for this pre-owned copy than the brand new shrink wrap one? And thank you for telling us. We will get on that. Demand has changed. So effectively, we're supply and demand basing almost all of our prices. But there are also some times when we buy something for $5 10 years ago, and suddenly someone writes us back in, hey, I see you're selling that thing that I sold you for $5 for $500. How fair is that? And it's not, but we also sat on it for the last 5 years. And at the time when we bought it, it was only worth $20, and now it's worth a lot. I'm sorry for the buyer's remorse. So we generally, we don't intentionally price gouge. I promise. If we discover that something has been vastly overpriced versus the demand, we absolutely will fix it. And occasionally we're just simply humans and we goof. But most of the time we base it on what we paid for it, how hard it is to come by it, what our previous sale prices are, how long they sit in our inventory before selling, a range of things like that. And of course, condition. So now, I wish I could just give you a straight answer on that, but we do try to keep our prices at least market fair.
So to answer John Longshore here, the next time I come by, I will call ahead so we can like have a little walkthrough. That would be on camera. That would be awesome.
Yeah,
but,
come on anytime.
You know, it is a little bit of a drive.
Jess,
just one second, if you don't mind, one moment.
Yeah, I mean, if this ever happens, this Pawn Star of Wargaming, I'm so in, man. I want to be there.
Yeah, Stigler, you're right. That was a pretty straight answer, but she could have saved a lot of it by just saying voodoo.
That's true. Now, how many SKUs are in the Noble Knight database? I would venture to say it's well into the 6 figures.
It's more than that.
And that's a lot to keep. I mean, even it's a database, right? But that's still a lot to have to paw through.
Yeah,
figure
it
out.
really is. So, hey, FYI, I just got called. I'm going to have to pop out really soon to deal with something, but I will show you if you want to see what I see when I play with our database.
Ooh.
You're going to hate it because I hate it.
Behind the scenes.
How can I get this to be visible?
It looks like DOS.
It practically is. All right. So it is working through Microsoft Access. So here we are at Maneuver Warrior.
Salivating.
That's not fun.
It is not a fun-looking screen.
No.
I disagree.
We brought you on for fun, not for that.
I love paperwork and accounting so much.
So this is kind of like what I see when I'm messing with our database. So here's Maneuver Warrior. This is the basic listing, but if I want to get more detailed information, I have to come here. This has got all of our stuff. You know, there's the collections it lives in, product lines, past prices, set sale prices, you know, release date, and then let me see what I can. If we had a copy,
someone's calling you.
They are. Yeah. What is? Hold on a second. I was going to try to go back to something that we actually had
marketing here.
Let's see here.
Jess, I just gotta know. Assuming you guys sold that last one back in 2014 or whatever, what did it sell for? Can you say?
One moment. I can. I'm gonna have to set down the. Hold on a second. I'm gonna put in a product just to pull up something that's actually got information. Hold on.
Yeah. I was going to say that there's, you know, are you technically capable of looking it up? But like, are you allowed to tell us the answer?
Yeah,
like,
sure. No one's going to tell me.
Capable of looking it up.
I mean, yes, but no. I can tell you what the past product price was. Oops. Oh, damn it. I did it again. But what that would translate to now is going to be totally different because you know, if we haven't had one since 2014, it's going to go up quite a bit. But okay, so I'm like, here's a Paper Wars, and then I'm going to look at the bulk entry for the Paper Wars, and then here's all this information from that episode of Paper Wars, and here are my inventory items currently in stock, and over here is, you know, what we sold the most recent copies at, how long it sat in the inventory, where it was at, you know, the different product lines it's in, and I can look at the, you know, information for the publisher. It's not a beautiful piece of equipment that we work through here, but yeah. It does its job. But
Jesus, Jess, that was so interesting, man. Please do it again.
Right? This gray screen of numbers. It's fascinating.
Gary's salivating, man.
Oh, I love that kind of stuff. Are you kidding? I built my own database.
I know Stigler's saying something. I think, well, hold on a second. He's saying something. Jess, does this make any sense to you?
Microsoft Access is not legacy software at this point, but
it's no longer supported.
Oh, really?
It is not supported. It is yeah.
Or is it just an old version of Access?
It's so our database is hosted SQL Server, and then we have this we call this version of it is, we've been calling it the, you know, the point of sale, the POS, the POS. Yeah. Right. We're actually currently redesigning that for a new system that's going to be a little bit more user friendly, because as you all just saw, that screen makes me want to die.
Ah, it's horrible.
I hate it. It's awful. Sorry, I'm still trying to go back to Carrier Wars so I can get you that information. But,
Maneuver Warrior.
Carrier Wars.
So if some guy wants to buy Carrier Wars and it's $1,000, is there a layaway plan?
Carrier War is $60.
Well, I was gonna say, luckily, Carrier Wars is only about $60. So
Peter, don't even get me started on SAP. That is literally what I do for a living. So
God, I thought you were an exciting guy.
Oh, are you crazy? Have you seen what I do as a hobby?
I mean, Jess plays instruments at least.
Yeah, that's what cool people do. We went and I moved 500 pieces, and then we rolled some dice and I moved them all again. That's literally what I do for entertainment. I am the most boring person on the planet.
See, a rap video would totally up your cool quotient.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah, absolutely. And my shame quotient.
So
which fortunately I don't have any of.
The copy of Maneuver Warrior that we sold in 2014 was an unpunched, excellent condition. We sold that at $125 in 2014.
Wow.
Brant's got a whole garage full of them.
No, I don't. Not anymore.
So I'm wondering what $125, even just accounting for inflation right now. Let's see about that.
That's about the gross profit that I made on pretty much the entire front run throughout its existence.
Well, clearly you could do more than that now. So
what I have left are a whole lot of counter sheets that never made it into final assembled copies of it. So,
well, apparently we have never had a shrink wrapped copy.
That's because we didn't shrink wrap any of them.
Ah, okay. Well, even mints, we've never had a mint.
Okay.
We've had excellent condition box with near mint condition inside, and that is the best condition we've ever had.
We didn't spring for shrink wrapping on them, so.
Oh, I see someone once sold us in 2018. We had a copy that was a collection that was the base game plus a couple of expansions, and that came out of our inventory extremely fast. That sold very quickly.
Wow.
So
actually, Maneuver Warrior was the third of the games. It wasn't the base game. All three of them were standalones, but the first two games fit inside the box for Maneuver Warrior. So that's why we picked the box that size.
was it Pelican Islands?
No,
that's the book. Okay.
The Pelican Islands was the last of the RPG products that we published from a previous line of stuff. So
Perfidious Elliot is absolutely right. This is completely true. People like real database people absolutely do not use Access anymore, and they have it for a long time.
No, it's terrible. We're getting rid of it. It's got to go. But since we've been around and growing for years, it's kind of that monster that you just keep feeding and feeding until you look back and be like, I really should have gotten rid of that alligator and flushed it down the toilet like 20 years ago. But now it's this giant alligator, and how do you kick it out of your house?
It doesn't fit in the toilet. Yeah.
I'm
not buying stuff I've got copies of sitting here in the office.
Yes, but yeah, so apparently I've got to go deal with a thing. Sorry. Next time I will be more in contact first so that I can clear an entire hour. Thank you very much, every single one of you that had some input about the war games. You've taught me a lot. I've taken a lot of notes. I'm going to come back and read more of these notes later. I'm so sorry to bail, but thank you for having me, and it's been so good. Hey, and nice meeting you, Brant.
You too, Jess.
We'll talk to you guys again soon. Thank you so much for having me.
Thanks, Jess. It's always great to have you.
You bet.
Guys,
Take
I'm
care,
going to
guys.
take Jess's cue, and I'm going to disappear also.
Where are you going, Brant? Where are you going? What do you got to do?
30 minutes. So
he's got some soccer to coach or something like that at 8:30 p.m.
Jeez, what time is it in your house?
It's 8:15. I'm the same time zone as you, but 9 o'clock tonight we're recording our next podcast episode. So,
well, you know,
yeah,
you got
another hour and a half of staring at computer screens here.
Yeah.
So
I got hate mail about Labatt, by the way, because I spoke ill of Labatt on the operational episode, the operational Napoleonics episode.
So you want to come back and do another episode all
about how much I hate Labatt? We can actually do that as the topic. Okay. How much Gary hates Labatt? That'd be fine.
You got to stop saying Labatt. Labatt's a beer.
Drives
it's La Bataille. La Bataille.
Drives hits. It is La Bataille, but now well, not now. This isn't new. There's another La Bataille series from Legion War Games, which is by Rui. So. Yeah, we got to cover that too. We can talk about that. It'll be awesome if we could do an entire 90-minute podcast where I never say which Labatt I'm talking about.
Yeah, there you go. For what it's worth, current events will drive clicks as well, because the episode that just dropped this past Friday was me and Brian Train talking about war games that had postulated the current conflict in Ukraine. And so, like, looking back at games that had been designed years ago and what did they kind of get right, kind of get wrong, and roll forward from there. Not trying to like predict or model what's going on now, just looking back at what people had done before and how well it held up.
Although given how that thing's going, boy, Brian Train sounds like a great person to talk about it, huh?
That's why we grabbed Brian to do that.
And already there's our next topic, man. Right there.
Sure. Yeah, unconventional warfare, sure.
Well, I mean, what's happening now? There's games that predicted this. You know what I'm saying?
No, sort of. But I mean, you'll just walk next door and talk to Brian and get him on the show next week, right?
He's 3,000 miles away. But
Canadians all know each other.
We should have Brian on the show, man.
We should. He's been on the show before, so
yeah. Brent, thank you for the kind words on that. I'm going to bail out of here. So thank you guys.
Thanks, Brent.
Y'all letting me crash the party, and I'll catch y'all next time.
See you, Brent.
Thank you so much.
Okay, let's get on topic here.
Oh, right. Now we're going to talk about, we got 10 minutes left to talk about modded maps. They're great. Have a nice day. I thought of this topic actually because one of the things, so a lot of people really, really like mounted maps. I've always been kind of lukewarm on them, to be honest, because I've had to deal over the years with a lot of low quality mounted maps and even some high quality mounted maps that behaved in ways I didn't like. So, for example, GMT, their mounted maps are really nice, but they always tend to kind of pooch up a little bit. And it takes a kind of a lot of hassle to get them to lay completely flat without manhandling them every time you open, you lay them out again. I actually broke my Here I Stand board because I was trying to bend it backwards so that it would lay flat. Recent compass mounted maps have just boom, you take it out of the box and it's flat and that's it. So if I gotta put plexi on it anyway, what good does a mounted map do me, right? Is the way I see it.
Well, I mean, a mounted map, talking about the Flying Pig games, when they put out a mounted map,
they're serious.
It's very impressive. So how do you
their mounted maps were so big I couldn't fit it. Well, that's one reason I got rid of Old School Tactical. It literally didn't fit on my table. I literally could not put that map on my wargaming table at the time, which is kind of it's an IKEA table. It's kind of the perfect size to fit one map. I couldn't fit it. It was way too big. Perfidious Albion says mounted maps are overrated, unnecessary weight premium. I don't care about the weight so much as I care about the amount of space it takes up in the box.
Perfidious, I expected that from Stigler. You know what I'm saying? Maybe. Recent Decision games with mounted maps, they haven't done a lot of. I think I have 2 of theirs with mounted maps, RAF and D-Day at Omaha Beach, and they're both very nice mounted maps. I'm very happy with them. You got the mounted map for D-Day at Omaha Beach?
Yeah.
I don't have it. Damn it.
It's a good game, regardless.
No, it's a good game. It's a good game.
So,
do you have the RAF mounted map one?
Yeah, I have the latest edition of RAF, which is the one with the mounted map.
Yeah,
in the 3-inch box.
By mistake, I was going to send you one.
Oh, well, thanks. I got one. I bought it at Origins last year. I think last year, something like that. This is why I'm caught up on Decision Games, because I bought everything I needed from them, and they really only release a game about every 2 years that I feel like I need to buy.
Did they give you a deal because you're already?
No. I paid. They may have given me some kind of discount because I gave them close to $300, but they do have like a discount. The more you spend, the more you get off. But
okay.
But no, I did not get a celebrity discount. That is a completely fictional scenario.
There you go. Kevin's in the house.
Kevin Bertram is in the house.
You were supposed to send me a video. Did you send me the video, Kevin?
His maps are very nice. That's the Shores of Tripoli his map. It's the only game they've done so far, but it is very nice. Very high component quality. Cloth maps. There are games with cloth maps. HOLLANDSPIELE has cloth maps for a couple of games. I know that, and that's always been kind of more common in RPGs than in war games, but it's something I've seen here and there. Those Avalon Hill ASL map boards were ridiculous to store. That I've got a stack of them that anybody want them, I'll ship to you for the cost of shipping. I want them out of here. I much prefer the thinner cardstock maps. I'd be fine with them being on paper, to be completely honest, because I'm going to put plexi over them anyway. What's the difference?
Yeah, I got a couple of vinyl maps, man.
Vinyl. Yeah, I've seen a couple. I think you've got 1 or 2 of those Pub Battles games, I think. Those, I believe, are on vinyl, right?
No, the Pub Battle is on canvas.
Ooh, that's fancy, too.
Yeah, no, I got I stole from Lock and Load when I went to WBC, that huge map. I have it here somewhere. That's vinyl, and I like it, man. Like when you get drunk, you puke on it, and you can clean it up, no problem.
Just wipe it off. You're all good. It's like the couches at Studio 54. You just hose them off at the end of the night.
Really?
Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah. Very much so.
Oh, my God.
Neoprene maps. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I don't know, man.
Actually handled a neoprene map, to be completely honest about it.
There's something, it deteriorates, man, and it comes apart like the mouse, like a mouse pad.
Now, I've got some of the old vinyl Chessex battle mats that have held up well for 20. I mean, they haven't gotten a lot of use, to be honest, because I tend not to play RPGs that require battle mats, but they're in great shape. So,
no, I like mounted boards. I know at one point DVG, and they always rectified the problem in Napoleon's Field Commander Napoleon. The mounted maps were so thin they were warping like as you're looking at them, but they got better.
I'll just examine my copy of Field Commander.
What do you think of that game, Artie?
Oh, it's a great game. You know, I'm not like a big fan of DBG, honestly, because they do a lot of games that I'm just not into. But Field Commander Napoleon is really good. However, let me take this opportunity to complain about these fucking garbage counter trays that they use. Garbage. Garbage. I got counters all over the inside of the box because the lids do not snap on.
That's right. Garbage
counter trays. Their counter trays should be thrown in the bin. Garbage. Bad Dan. Bad Dan.
Show us the maps.
I'm trying to get it out. I've got to struggle with these friggin' this crap counter tray. But I'll tell you right now, I'm not observing the problem that you've just described. So this comes with, I think, 7 or 9 mounted maps.
Yeah.
So there's maybe a little bit of warping here, but I don't think it's a big deal. Yeah, there is a little bit of warping on these, actually. I don't know how well you can see it here, but you can. If I can squeeze it like that, there actually is a bit of warping.
I don't know when did you buy that?
About 2015. That's
okay. So it's changed. I got the newer edition, and it's solid.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, it's a terrific game. A lot of people have done video on it. STUKAJOE did some I think STUKAJOE did some video. Maybe it was somebody else. Maybe it was a Marco or somebody like that did some video. It's a terrific game.
No, it was the Midnight Gamer.
The Late Night Gamer. The Late Night Gamer.
Whatever happened to that guy?
Oh, he's still around. He's still doing content. He just doesn't do that much stuff that quickly. I still watch his stuff when he does war games anyway. He's done a lot of stuff in the last couple of years that hasn't been wargaming. But yeah, I mean, if board warping concerns aside, highly recommended Field Commander Napoleon. I haven't played any of the other Field Commander games on which I've heard somewhat mixed reports, but certainly Field Commander Napoleon is really good. Yeah, you know, in principle, I think this makes sense, but I haven't observed that to be a problem on anything I've gotten that's been imported, like stuff that GMT printed in China. I mean, you got to be right about that, but to what extent does that slip in through the shrink wrap? Because they're all shrink wrapped, right? I mean, they're not being shipped in climate controlled cargo vessels. I can tell you that, but I have not observed that to be a problem. Now, if you recall, back in the day, there's the only 2 mounted games that I can think of that 3W did. Mr. Lincoln's War, Army of the Potomac, and Army of the Tennessee. They were very similar mounted maps to a style that Avalon Hill did for a while, where it was like not a bound map. It was just kind of on this really thick cardboard, and they warped terribly. Those were terrible maps, very low quality maps. And that's honestly, those 2 games are one of the reasons why I have reservations about mounted maps. If it's like somebody I'm not familiar with anymore, it's like, is this going to be any good? I don't know. I was super worried about Decision, and Decisions are fine. So Duel in the Darkness. I don't know what that even is, man.
Isn't that a Lee Birmingham Wood game?
I don't think so, but don't quote me on that.
Duel in the Dark. That's not GMT.
I'm sure it's not GMT.
I know what game he's talking about. And you're right about the mounted maps.
It ain't even on BGG.
It's not on BGG?
It's not on BGG. Unless I spelled it wrong, which is possible, because BGG search kind of sucks. But
sucks.
Yeah, I Perfidious Albion, I agree with you. I think that's absolutely true. I just haven't seen that. I haven't seen that happen as a result of transport in new games, right? Stuff that's been sitting around, like, Field Commander Napoleon, or a lot of those old Avalon Hill games, like my copy of Freedom of the Galaxy, my Avalon Hill copy of Freedom of the Galaxy, terribly warped. Conquistador was another one that had that style of mounted map, terribly warped. Trireme, another one that's that style of mounted map,
so how
terribly
do you fix
warped.
That? You got to wet it a bit and put it back into place, kind of
I've
thing.
never even tried to do that. Honestly, I would just throw it down, put Plexi on top. That's what I would do. So, Duel in the Dark. Okay. So maybe that is a Lee Brimacum Wood thing. I don't know.
Is it?
I don't know. No, for Friedman Di Pedro from Pilot Games and Z-Man Games. But it is an Air War air combat game.
Friedrich Di Pedro must be Argentinian.
I have the vaguest idea. But
well, Friedrich and Pedro, for God's sake. Hardy.
This is that's plausible. That's plausible. I don't know. Like I said, I'm not familiar with this. So
well,
Z-Man Games is the thing we're talking about. Yeah, that's one of the listed publishers.
What about Z-Man Games?
Oh, of Duel in the Dark. They're one of the
publishers.
publishers.
I see. Okay. Well,
and Z-Man Games has never done anything that I felt obligated to buy. Do not take that as a bash on Z-Man Games. I'm sure their products are fine. They just, again, it's a DVG thing. They just don't do that much stuff that's of interest to me personally. So Mike says he is from Hamburg, Germany.
Yeah. We passed our time already by 59 seconds. Who's going to pay me now?
Oh, dear. Show the video.
Where's the video?
I sent it in private chat.
Oh, is that what that was?
Yeah.
Hold on. Let's see if is it working? Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. Hold on. I got to share this. Hold on. This is ridiculous. Okay.
If we were at my house, I got it loaded in through StreamYard. I could just push a button and it plays. You'd have to share your screen.
Okay, that's what I was looking at. Yeah. Hold on. Is it there?
I see it. You can see
There it goes, people.
Look at this fucking thing.
I don't know why I love that, man. I love it.
I'm totally bringing this to the OCS game tomorrow.
Anyways,
Thursday.
Artie, I gotta go. Thanks.
All right, very good.
Thank you, people.
Thanks, everybody. Everybody have a great night. Hopefully, we have enjoyed the show.
Okay, have a good one, man. Oh yeah, true. I gotta end the broadcast.
You should push the button.
Yeah, push the button.